All right. We're live on YouTube. K0LWC 31629. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Just waiting for that one viewer to tick in. I know it's going to be you. Come on in, come on in. So let it do that. There is Dan. Welcome in. We're going to let some other folks come in. We'll see how many we can get. Come on in, come on in. Welcome to the live, guys. We are kicking back in the shack tonight here in Minnesota, live from the K0LWC Ham Shack. Let me just see if I can adjust this even a little bit. What's going on, Tyler? It's a little bit better. All right, perfect. Coming in, we're going to talk about the FCC's proposed fees. What's going on, Chris? So coming in, I want you guys to comment on this because this is like a fairly big deal. It's not like super urgent. We're talking about the FCC and the fact that they want to increase the money that ham radio operators pay to become licensed ham radio operators. Before we get into that crazy topic, and if you haven't been caught up on this news, I'm going to fill you in. But just drop me a comment. What are you guys doing tonight? As you can see, I'm kicked back in the shack. I'm going to get to bed here in a little bit because my son wakes me up very early in the morning. But I am also on DMR with Dan, KB0TDW out of Omaha, Nebraska. We are on Brandmeister 31629. So you can come say hello on Brandmeister as well while we're live. But what are you guys up to? Drop me a comment. Let me know. I can see your comments. Comments are open and live, as you can tell. So drop me a comment. What are you guys up to tonight? It is, by the way, finally cooling down in Minnesota. About to turn in. Well, I said I'm not that far behind you. What frequency am I on? I am on my hotspot here at home, and we are on Brandmeister DMR. The talk group is 31629. Dan is sitting in the shack talking to me. There you go. Dan has got a good night. If he's talking to me and BSing about this, he's having a good night. Yeah, so 31629 on Brandmeister is a talk group that Dan and I are on right now. Let's just see if Dan's out there. KB0TW, K0LWC on 31629 Brandmeister. Is he going to answer?
Yeah, buddy, I'm here.
All right, very good. So if you're watching and you have DMR capabilities on Brandmeister 31629, you can listen in. Tyler's going to get on the hose line. Awesome for this discussion. That's great. So you can find me and Dan. Again, talk group is 31629. So let's talk about this FCC thing, guys. Have you guys heard of this? This just came out yesterday from the FCC. Hopefully you guys have seen this. It's been bouncing around all over the internet for ham radio and the interwebs. The FCC wants to start charging, playing with the Motorola. That's awesome, Chris. Those are fun to play with. Very hard to program, but fun to play with. The FCC wants to charge $50 to do various functions related to applications for ham radio operators. This is going to impact all of us potentially. Now, understand this is a very important point. It's not set in stone yet. It's not a law yet. The law was passed in 2018. And they finally got around years later to proposing how they're going to address different parts of this law. And so what they're going to do is when you become a new ham, it's going to be $50 that first time you take your test, plus your testing fee with the VEs. So when you go to take your first exam, when you factor in study materials, when you factor in your fee, proposed new fee, and your testing for the VE team, you'll be paying about $100 to become a ham radio operator if this new fee structure passes. Then, once you become a ham radio operator, every time you want to upgrade your license, it's a $50 fee because you got to submit an application for a new license. Also, if you want to apply for a vanity call sign, it's a $50 fee for a vanity as well. And then when you get to the end of your 10 years, is you got to renew your license every 10 years, it's another $50 fee every 10 years. So what this means, I did the math, right? Some basic typical math. What this means for ham radio operators typically is in the first 10 years, you could get by with probably about $70 all in, not including your equipment, your coax, your radios. I'm talking about licensing and you move that up, licensing and just what you have to do for testing in the FCC. $70. Under this new structure, it could be around $230 to $250 across 10 years that you have to do. So that's a pretty substantial increase. That's hefty. And it doesn't bother me as much. Like it's not like I'm gonna be like, that's too much money. But for some people, especially the people you want to get in this hobby, teenagers, that could be a little bit of a barrier for some of them. For some, it's not like every family can burn hundreds of dollars extra, unfortunately. So that could be a barrier. And so the interesting conversation I was having with Dan, showing IDs instead of names. That's interesting. Maybe you can see my ID. I'll key it for you, Tyler. K0LWC on the swine, 31629. So again, that's the talk group, 31629. And I think the reason they did that, Tyler, they recently changed that and they only show IDs now. I think it has to do with privacy laws on the internet over in Europe. Doug conducted a general class study group. Nice. I think going back to this point, here's what I think is so interesting. Minnesota or Colorado, which one's better? Do you like mosquitoes? If you do, Minnesota's great. No, Colorado is a fantastic state. Like we certainly miss Colorado. Loved it, loved living there. More bugs, more humidity, winter. Yeah, Colorado's a better state to live in for sure. But you're pros to Minnesota as well. But weather-wise, outdoor-wise, it's Colorado, no, hands down. All right, perfect. So now you know my ID. But here's the thing. So the money I'm worried about, they take an inch now and it's a mile later, right? But here's the interesting point that I want you guys to comment on. I want everybody to comment. If you're watching this, prepare to comment. Is this the FCC starting to see ham radio as not a public service anymore? They are starting to treat ham radio more like a commercial transmitter and charging us fees, or like GMRS. John says, does that mean we can deduct it from our taxes if we do any kind of public service, hurricane disaster? That's a great point. Again, there's plenty of hams that still do tons of public service. And again, as the bill is written now, no, you cannot do that. So are they starting to see ham radio as not a public service that they need anymore? And they're starting to treat the fact that we are around like we are commercial in the sense that they want us to pay. They used to, I think, give us a pretty easy ride on money because we did have that public service element there. Now I think, this is pure speculation, this is my opinion, that we don't have as much public service value, and so they want to start charging us like they do for other people that use a spectrum, whether it's GMRS or other commercial stuff. Because before, again, I think they gave us a free ride in a way, and I wouldn't call it completely free, but sort of, to the point of, you guys help us out in disasters, so we are going to kind of front you that money and take care of those fees and when you guys send us documentation. So is this them thinking that ham radio doesn't have as much value for public service anymore from a governmental perspective? What are your thoughts on that? Drop a comment. I'm curious because that's my perception. That could be one explanation on this. Now, Jimmy's going to bootleg. I like that. Jimmy is fighting back immediately, going straight bootleg. Tyler, yes. Because that's why I always felt they did that for us. The FCC doesn't need ham radio. I think they'd rather auction the spectrum, but international agreements put it up a pretty big ballgame for doing that. I agree. Fighting the man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like, spectrum is at a premium. Like, there's no question about that. Like, there is limited amounts of spectrum, and certainly 5G is really pushing that and making that even worse. So where are they going to slot everybody in? And we have a fair amount, relatively speaking. So again, is this where in the future, some people have made a theory, and this is not my theory, that if they can slow down ham radio licensing right now and start to level it off and maybe even slowly decline it in the next 5 or 10 years, it gives them more of a case to say, we're going to start taking things away slowly. In fact, they've already started taking some spectrum away from ham radio, but maybe they can do that more if they can level off licenses. Why would anyone pay a license fee, a commission that will take away rights? Fair point. Absolutely fair point. But that's a theory, right? That some people believe that they want to intentionally throw a wrench into the fact that ham radio has been growing. It has been growing. If you'd seen my most recent blog post on k0lwc.com, we talk about the fact that ever since we came out of the Great Recession in 2009, 2010, ham radio has been growing like this in licenses very, very quickly. And what I wrote was, my theory is, I think people saw how absolutely fragile everything in the world is, between the wars we've been having going on forever, the economic collapse that happened. All of a sudden, you saw the rise of this idea of being a prepper. Survivalism became more mainstream, and everybody wanted to buy Baofengs. Everybody wanted to buy the quick Chinese radio and have, you see the people all the time out there, preppers, different militia groups all have the Baofeng on their shoulder. I will tell you, in the end of the world, I don't want to trust my life to a Baofeng. I just don't. But some people do. That's fine. But that's an interesting theory that, again, your comments on this, because is this the camel's nose under the tent? I think licenses actually are going up because of COVID-19. I have 11 Baofengs, I know. Yes, I said you can buy 10 Baofengs for the price of one of these radios back here. A lot of people do that. Actually, so many people I've talked to, let's see, the need for secure and free mode of communication is a right, not a privilege. Interesting, again, it's all in the air, right? RF, blah, it's all around. They are going up exactly for that reason. I've seen so many people that have gotten their license because they wanted something to do while they've been quarantined. So they started studying and tinkering, and they've been either laid off of work or just working from home, and they've had more time on their hands, and they've gotten their license during COVID-19. So I think actually COVID-19 has been a boon for ham radio. I think it's been great. In fact, I've heard more activity on repeaters and simplex in the last few months than I ever did. John, look at what they did to commercial broadcasting, auctioning off frequencies at the highest bidder. Yeah, I think, again, they want to up the fees. They talk about that in this very bill. 0 to extra during quarantine. Very nice, Troy. That's awesome. It's quite an accomplishment to jump up all the way. I think it's an interesting perspective, though, is yes, they talk about in this bill that they want to increase the fees they're charging for spectrum use. Not just in our little part of the world, which is relatively small, but they also talk about this from a perspective of commercial. They want to charge these companies more money to get their hands on the spectrum and make more money off what they're auctioning. So there's no question, they want to up more money and sell off chunks of spectrum. They've been taking away spectrum from ham radio, mostly way, way up high. What was it, 3 gigahertz? 3 or 5? I can't remember. I think it's 3 gigahertz they took away from ham radio, and there's kind of a fight over that, and I'm pretty sure ham radio lost. But here's also what's kind of disturbing to me. I was going through the Facebook comments today after I wrote my article, and I did see a comment who, I'm not going to name this person, but they're a fairly well-known, very visible member of the ARRL. They are a region director for the ARRL, and when they saw my article, which I don't think is really that inflammatory at all, they said, oh, geez, everyone just needs to calm down. That's unfortunately not what I want to see from the ARRL in this issue. I don't want to see the ARRL telling ham radio operators to calm down when the FCC starts wanting to increase fees. I want them to start communicating on behalf of the greater community to say, why are you proposing a 300% increase to a typical ham over the first 10 years, which is a relatively minuscule amount of money when we provide a lot of public service in times of need, when there are so many other ways of commercial interest that the FCC deals with in terms of large transmitters that they can recoup funds from. Why are you singling out now including amateur radio in this? Again, if you didn't catch it before, if you just joined, drop a comment. I want to hear what you guys think on this. Breaking news from yesterday. Doug, supply and demand, more people have been getting licenses since COVID started. Absolutely. Way more people have been getting licensed. No doubt about it. COVID has allowed people to chase after ham radio that just didn't have time to sit and study or to think about it in their basement, here in the shack, whatever it is. There's no doubt about that. I think if you didn't catch this at the beginning, I'm just going to be a quick repeat on this, that, again, Is the fact the FCC wants to start charging application fees, is that them seeing ham radio as not a public service for public good anymore and treating us more like a commercial entity of someone that's using up spectrum space and they want to collect fees on? That's number one. Number two, again, right now, if you're a typical ham, if you're a kid, or if you're Troy in this case, let me just pause. Tyler, some people have been using hotspots, other things, single sideband. Absolutely, 100%. I agree, Tyler. Some people, like Troy, for example, who just went from, not being licensed to an extra, the cost of that, if you take into consideration study materials, if you take into consideration your testing for the VE team that does your testing, and the fact that that's really your only cost right now, you're probably in for about $40, $40 to $45. If we had the new fee structure, you would be paying probably around about $100 to $110 total, because you're going to pay an extra $50 on top of that $40. So figure about $100 is what you'd pay instead of the $40. Now again, for a lot of people, that's not a problem. It's not going to break the bank. But also for a lot of people, that is going to potentially break the bank. And the most important audience that I'm talking about is young teenagers, the ones that we need to get involved in ham radio, because they are the next generation of operators. I know everyone's going to say, why do we need young people today? Because all they're going to do is sit on DMR and be on FT8 and JS8 call and ruin ham radio. They don't know code. They're no code ham. The list goes on and on. But the fact is, we have to continue to sustain our hobby if we want it to be around for our kids, and that means getting young people involved. I know whether it's the Yoda programs, using and capitalizing on SpaceX and all the excitement around space exploration, and getting kids involved in AMSAT and stuff like that. Yes, Jimmy, it will be $50 for a renewal. So if you're not familiar with what they want to do, it'll be a $50 fee for a new license. It'll be a $50 fee every time you upgrade your license. And it will be a $50 fee if you want to get a vanity call sign. And it'll be a $50 fee every 10 years on renewal. That is the current proposal from the FCC. But again, so for myself and others, it's not a gigantic chunk of money. It's fine. You can pay it. Samsonite, I'm 20. Nobody my age knows what a ham is. Have to explain what it is. That's how it is for me too. It's been the way my whole life, and I'm now 34, and I still have to explain it to everybody. There's been one person since I moved to Minnesota that knows what it is. Peta extra up. That's right. Get them done now. Save yourself $100 bucks. Do it now. But again, it's not a big deal unless you're younger, probably, or some people from a lower socioeconomic status. And again, in Jimmy's point that, many hams are cheap, I mean, take a look at the rise of Baofeng. And some of you will probably here, again, have them, right? Just look at that, of people buying $20 HT radios and tell me that Jimmy's not right, that hams are often considered cheap, or maybe the best word is frugal. That's the word, frugal. They are frugal people. So this is unfortunate. This really, really is. Again, does it end my ham radio career or hobby? No, it does not. Is it going to be potentially impactful that we'll see years down the road in terms of new hams coming in, especially younger people? I think yes. If you disagree or agree, drop a comment. It's fine. It's unfortunate, and I don't understand why they want to do it, because it's such a small segment of the people they serve and deal with. It really is. Exactly, Doug. They're using Louisiana, Texas. Absolutely. Hams are definitely in play right now. FCC sees hams as a group that no one will rally to defend, therefore easy to overtake. And that's where the ARRL is supposed to be. And I will be front with you guys. I'll be way up front. I am not a member of the ARRL. I never joined the ARRL. I've been a ham for like 12 years. I've never been a member. The reason is I've never really been able to see specifically what they do in a really good, big way, like what big stuff they're working on. And I'll tell you, when I saw the ARRL director on Facebook today saying to everybody, calm down, stop ringing the panic alarm, again, I didn't like to hear that from the ARRL at all. I don't think they should be telling people that. They should be preparing to represent ham radio operators to the government. Dan, Baofeng free radio zone. I do have my Anytone. 28, a former youth editor, Yoda, co-founder, huge barrier for entry youth. Imagine kids having to explain to their parents that struggle with it. Absolutely. Um, there's plenty of kids that I know. In fact, I had a local ham here recently that reached out to me and said, hey, I know you have a radio laying around for DMR. Would you be willing to donate it to another ham that doesn't have the money to buy it? And if you're on DMR, you probably know it. It's not terribly expensive to buy a DMR radio. They're like, you can get them for like 60 bucks, 75 bucks. And this ham, I'm not going to say who he is, but I will say is he had a debilitating chronic health condition where he is unable to work, right? He's probably on a fixed income. And so I gave him an extra radio that I had for free that was given to me by one of the companies. Trainee, the only reason I even knew that ham radio was an Art Bell fan. Absolutely, loved Art Bell. I love Art Bell. I used to listen to Coast AM all the time. And that's because here's a little known fact, that if you're on this live, you're going to learn something about me that nobody else knows. I actually worked in radio for 2 years, commercial broadcast radio, as a voice talent, as on-air talent. For 2 years, ran the board, had my own show on FM and AM. And so, of course, I know Art Bell, love Art Bell. I wish I could have worked him like Jimmy, before he passed away, because he's an icon. Very well-known ham, and his show was epic. I like George Norrie, but George Norrie is not Art Bell. Let's just be clear, okay? But again, like, this for me is, I think they want to do this now. And here's another, I didn't talk about this yet. This fee is going to be set potentially at $50, right? But in the actual law language that they're proposing, this provision is saying that they have to reassess the fee on an annual basis to determine if it needs to go up. So every single year they will review it and adjust to see if it needs to rise for any given reason. So it could go up in the future. It's not set in stone for 2 years, 5 years, a decade, or forever. Every single year they're going to review that and say, do we need to take more money from amateur radio operators? Again, I'm happy to pay it. It's fine. It's not going to blow my bank account in half, but I think it's going to have an impact on our hobby, and that's really, really unfortunate. And so I hope the ARRL steps up. I was so disappointed to see one of their head people dismissing this fact today. I really was. And so where do we go from here? What do you think is the right course of action? Do you think the ARRL is going to be that voice? The worst collective bargaining I've seen in a while. Absolutely. Is the ARRL going to put, pen to paper and really try to make sure that we're represented in saying we provide a public service? You shouldn't be milking us for hundreds of dollars over a decade, when again, there's plenty of other revenue sources, not just from sole ham radio operators to make money off of, to fill up the bank account for the FCC. Basically what they're saying, by the way, is, I was telling Dan this earlier on 31629, this money does not get reallocated to anything having to do with ham radio. This is not like they give money to them and they're going to increase enforcement or do other stuff for ham radio. It literally says in the provision, this money is to cover our costs of processing your applications. That's what it does. Plain and simple. It's just, we want to zero out the work we do for amateur radio by collecting your money so we can process your paperwork. We're not doing anything more for you for your money. We just want the money, so we don't have to pay the people to process your paperwork. And that's what also boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that the ULS has gotten better over the years and become more digital and automated, which is great. I can do everything I need to right there online. It's gotten more digitized, but yet now they want to increase fees, saying they got to cover the labor cost to process them. Is there some processing probably there? Yes, absolutely. I'm sure there is. But as we become more and more automated and digital, now they want to increase fees. Again, like, I think this is a way to start carving out and saying that it's not really, it's right. They don't give you paper license anymore, and that's actually a great point, Jimmy. 25 days for vanity call signs. And again, that 25 days is because there is a human element in there. Again, a lot of it is automated. When I got my license, it was not this digitized as it was 12 years ago. And they're right, they don't give you a print license anymore. And that's another thing I did not even mention yet. Well, of course, digital is becoming huge. Digital is a boon right now for ham radio. But here's an important point that Jimmy brought up. They don't send you a paper license anymore. I don't have it around me right now. Otherwise, I'd show it to you. I have my paper license because I got mine a long time ago. Well, I actually got a copy. They said if you want to request a paper copy of your license, $50. That's another $50 right there if you want a paper copy of your license. If you want to put up a copy of your license on the wall, it's also $50. So again, it just seems like a nickel and dime kind of situation. $50 here, $50 there. All of a sudden, I'm out an extra $200, $300, $400. So if you're new into the stream, drop me a comment. What do you think about this? The FCC wants $50 application fees for almost everything they do for amateur radio, starting up next year. They want to increase the fees and the money they take from ham radio, which right now is pretty much nothing. A nice frameable one, absolutely. Got to have a nice frame on it. There's some great companies out there doing some beautiful framing for licenses. I mean, so it seems like everybody's disagreeing with this. And again, you could agree with it. You're allowed to say that. You're allowed to have that opinion. I just don't know why you would, because it doesn't help the hobby in ham radio at all. It just takes money away. It doesn't do anything for us. Chris, all four digital voice modes, awesome. I do not use all four. Dan will tell you. Hold on, let me get Dan. Let's ask Dan. KB0TDW, K0LWC. Dan, what voice mode do I not use? You know this.
D-Star.
That is right. The correct answer is D-Star. Yeah, I hate D-Star with a passion because it's so clunky to get registered on the network and set up. I don't like D-Star. I use C4FM. I use DMR. I haven't done anything with P25. I don't have any moto gear. Samsonite, I was 16 when I got my license, and $50 would have been quite a stretch. Absolutely. That would have been a stretch for a lot of people. I know it would have impacted me when I was a kid for sure. Getting my license when I was considering it when I was a teenager, that would have played in my mind for sure, 100%. Yes, I use DMR C4FM because C4FM is great, or YSF. It's super easy. I like DMR. I've been on DMR forever. But yeah, no D-Star for me. It drives me bonkers. But this, to me, again, has no benefit, this fee structure. It doesn't do anything for ham radio. If they said, we're going to take this money and we are going to do more enforcement with the bands, I'd be like, I'm happy to pay it. Take my money. Take it. But if it's just, we want your money, let's jump in here and see who's here. KE4BFG, I think it was K0LWC. Go ahead on the swine. Let's see who we got here.
Yes, sir. Good evening from East Tennessee, Cosby, Tennessee. I personally like D-Star. That's my first digital voice was D-Star back in 2012. I got the 91 AD, the ID800, and I also got the 97, IC97, and 7100. I like all digital voice modes. Good evening, sir.
Props to you, Roger, because I don't know what it was like when you first jumped on D-Star, but getting up and getting registered on D-Star is the most clunky process I've ever seen. And Joel, to answer your question, it's Brandmeister, DMR 31629. That's my quibble with D-Star, is getting registered. It's a nightmare. My first thing was always DMR. Kyle says, pay the fee. DB57B is awesome.
Hey, I won't hold you up. I just wanted to say good evening. I'm enjoying the video. I hope the FCC don't get this passed. So you have a good evening, sir. Thanks for letting me join in. KE4DFG.
Kyle, type it again for me. Let me know. Give me some more context. No fees. No fees. Okay, no fees. Kyle is no fee. N5DEM, don't pay the fee. Chris, horse hockey. Thanks for jumping in there, Roger. I'm glad you joined in the live. I'm glad you jumped here on 31629. Great to have you. Stay safe. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. And we'll catch you again. K0LWC and the swine, 31629er. So It's, again, let me ask this question to you guys. If the FCC came out and said, we're going to increase enforcement, we are going to step up what we're doing for the ham radio community in that regard, would that sway your opinion one way or the other? Jimmy is still bootleg all day long before he pays a dime. Jimmy is going full bootleg. You gotta respect that. Brady says, I pay it. If the enforcement stepped up, if there was going to be something attached to it where they were saying we're going to take this money and use it in this way. Anybody else? Would enforcement change your mind in the fact that they're going to charge you now, again, for the average ham over a decade, about just under $300 over 10 years for the average typical ham? If that money was going towards enforcement versus just offsetting their costs, Dan wants to know if it includes a free Baofeng. There you go. You pay the fees and you get a free Baofeng. They should stop. It should become like free band. All the bands are going to become like 27,515. That's what it's going to become. Radio direction finding for the fee non-payers. So it sounds like another rate, absolutely. So again, and this is not a complex concept, right? Absolutely. Free band, I'm free banded, 10 kilos, 27,515, 555, the triple nickel, 10 kilos. This is not a hard concept. In marketing, which is where I work, we talk about this idea of what people are willing to give up and how you can get them to give up something. In marketing, it's usually your data. And we're all going through this right now in political season. Every single political campaign from both sides, they want two things from you. Actually, three. They want three things. Number one, first and foremost, politics, right, is money. It's always money. The other two, which is actually probably as critical, is your phone number and your email, because it allows us to better market to you and target you with online ads and all this kind of stuff. I mean, if it passes, I'd pay two because I love ham radio, of course. But yeah, some grants would be great. I think the ARRL may be finding a way to issue some offsets to younger hams in that regard would be awesome. Yes, they use volunteer people to do this, which is crazy again. But if it changed, if it was going to be paid, thanks for stopping in, Todd. Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. Good to have you in here. If you give something of value to somebody, the amount of stuff in return they're willing to give back is incredible. We know this in marketing. And let me give you an example. When you go to a professional sporting event, although I know it seems like a thing of the past in the current environment, you have a kiosk. I saw these all the time at Coors Field in Denver, and you go to any stadium, they have this. Where you type in your name, your address, your phone number, your email, this and that, how much money you make. Like, they want a bunch of demographic information, and then you can spin the wheel and win like the cheapest hat you've ever seen in your life. You're willing to give up all that information about you for a chance to win like a pennant or a hat. When you give something of value, even minuscule, people will be fine with that exchange. It has to be an exchange, though. It can't be just like, we want your money, you get nothing back from it. Too bad, so sad. That's where I think the FCC will run into a problem with trying to sell this program, this idea of taking money from ham radio operators to offset their operating costs. Now, again, if they were going to say, we're going to give you this in return, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I'm willing to do that exchange. My money will go towards this. Of course, you never can track that. But Brady, I think most hams who enjoy and respect the hobby will pay the fee, but I think this will definitely slow the growth. I agree. I think it could potentially level off the growth that we've been seeing. And again, if you look at my most recent article on k0lwc.com, if you haven't checked it out, go there. I talk about, is ham radio dying? And it's not. And in fact, that article's gotten like 10,000 views in the last couple days. And if you look at the growth in licenses, it's straight up. It's straight up since 2009. Basically, since we started kind of climbing back out of the recession, or at the gully of the recession, it went up. And if you weren't on my stream earlier, someone else brought up the drone licensing too, and also RC aircraft. I heard people are saying is a nightmare, and that the FCC is making radio-controlled aircraft also kind of a nightmare too. But if you didn't hear this earlier, I'm going to give it away again. Dan, you can't answer. Dan, you're not allowed. Where the heck was I going with that? I'm losing my train of thought. I'm totally losing my mind now. I've been live too long. It's been like 40 minutes. I'm starting to lose my mind here. The key is this, though. If we pay the fee, okay, Stefan, we spend way more money in bandwidth with commercial FRN than Slice. 100%. If you take a look at what commercial does, it's super expensive. I mean, commercial gets charged a pretty hefty fee, but again, they make a lot of money. They're commercial entities. Like, you're dealing with a lot more cash flow than a ham radio operator and a fixed income. So yes, ham radio, considering the amount of spectrum we take up, it's a pretty hefty fee. No doubt about that. And this is what I think is so fascinating, is that they don't want to actually give anything in return. It's just a grab to offset their costs. And I just don't understand it. I think it's short-sighted by the FCC, and I think what we can do to figure out how to remedy this if it does pass, or even how to fight back now. Because again, this is only a proposal. This is not set in stone yet. This is purely the FCC coming out and saying, this is what you want to do. What do you guys think? So what do you guys think we should do in response? Is the ARRL the answer? Are they going to come back and do something on behalf of the ham radio community? Is that the answer? Is the ARRL? Is it something that we're going to have to do more organically, where ham radio operators are going to have to do it themselves with commenting? I mean, how much do you think the ARRL is going to be able to swing the needle one way or the other? So far, when I've seen them try to fight, they haven't done a very good job. They're not a huge lobbying organization. They don't have a ton of power. They're not ExxonMobil here. If you need a lot of spectrum, you might need to pay for one frequency. Yep, absolutely. What was the last major thing the ARRL did? Well, that's a good point. First-time viewer, Mark, first time hearing this subject. Can you recap what they're wanting to do? 30,000-foot view. Sure, Mark, real quick. At this point, the only thing you need to do to get an FCC license for ham radio is pay a $15 testing fee to the testing group that gives you your test locally. And that's pretty much it. If you want to get a study guide, you got to pay for that too. But the FCC wants to charge you an application fee of $50 for getting your license the first time. Once you want to upgrade your license from technician to general to extra, every time you upgrade, they want to charge you $50. Every time you want to get a vanity call, which hopefully just one time, if you want a vanity, that's $50. If you want a print copy of your license, because they don't send you print copies anymore, it's $50. And then every time you have to renew your license, which of course, as you know, if you're a ham, it's every 10 years, it's $50. So they want to take the average cost for a ham radio operator from about, I would say, it's probably about right now today, 40 to $50 in the first 10 years to about $230 over 10 years. It's a pretty decent jump. So that's the 30,000-foot view level. So again, as of now, we've never been charged, at least in recent years. Apparently, way back in the day, there used to be some more fees. A lot of those got thrown aside and taken out. The FCC wants to again start charging a quite hefty amount of fees on ham radio operators for applications. So do you think the ARRL is going to do anything? I don't, and I'll tell you, I'm not a member of the ARRL. I'm not. It'll eventually come down to economics. When you look at bandwidth value per cycle, the regulators might start to go more towards the economy. Mark says they're going the way of the DMV. I just had the worst experience with the DMV of my life during COVID. I highly recommend, if you have any reason to go to the DMV anytime soon, avoid it if you can. It was the worst thing I've ever done. Yeah, they want tons and tons and tons of fees for every time you have them shuffle paperwork across their desk for you. What's going on? RC Craft, good to see you in here. KN6GZ Echo, thanks for hopping in here. I'm not a member of the ARRL. Are you? Are you part of the ARRL? I had to fly to Alamosa on a 6-seater to get my driver's license. That's rough. Brady, not a member of the ARRL. RC, nope, not a member of the ARRL. Yeah, I don't think there's a strong membership. Startup price was 90, then it was 65, somewhat similar. Yeah, I had a GMRS call sign too. I remember paying that fee. It's $70 today. No, nope. See, that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people do, and it's because what's the value proposition the ARRL gives us as members? I haven't really seen anything where I've been super impressed with something they've done. Like, they haven't sold to me why I should be a member of the ARRL other than saying you just should be because we advocate for you. But again, for the folks that joined recently, I was on Facebook today. I posted my article. If you haven't read the article I wrote today about this, go to k0lwc.com. It's right there. And in the comments was an ARRL director. This person, who I'm not going to name, was getting very bombastic, saying, oh gosh, here come the blogs that are going to blow this out of proportion. Everybody just calm down. That is not what I want the ARRL to be saying right now. I don't want anybody in a leadership position at the ARRL to be going on social media when this comes out from the FCC saying, everybody just calm down, it'll be fine. That's not what I want from the ARRL. If I was a member, I would be upset. I would be kind of angry at the ARRL. And granted, this is not an official statement. Just be clear, it's not. It's somebody that's a leadership position saying this, but that's their feeling. Yeah, GMRS is great. I like GMRS. I had my license, what was it? Let's see if I can rack my brain. WPR 695? I can't, it's been so long. Switched accounts, awesome. Not a problem, good to have you back in here. Yeah, I used to have GMRS, man, 462675. That's the main repeater in my area. It was wide coverage too. FRS all day long, dude. Hey, I still use FRS. It's on my Anytone radio here. I have FRS programmed in. There's nothing more fun than going in Colorado and going to Mount Evans. It's the highest point that you can drive up to. Take this little guy and jump on FRS Channel 1 in Colorado. You know, given that it's a big-time tourism state, people driving, people hiking, people camping, you'll get 20 people come back to you on this thing. I just pick up my QST mags in a store if I'm bored. I have a CQ subscription that I pay for. That's one thing that I do, which is nothing to do with the ARRL. That's the magazine that I read. But yeah, I don't give any money to ARRL because the people that have known from that haven't liked them, haven't heard good things, haven't seen good things from them. I'm just not impressed. They're not selling themselves to me enough. UHF has some crazy long site of absolutely it does. HRO catalogs, that is next to my porcelain throne. The HRO catalogs.
November, Juliet 6 Fox.
We got Rich. NJ6F, K0LWC. Come on in. We'll see what Rich has to say.
Yeah, hey there, Matt. Sounding good there from Denver. Yeah, just kicking back from the shack here. I'm over in San Diego. I think we might have talked before, about 4 months ago. Anyway, yeah, I used a little MD 9600 here and a outside vertical Comet triple commander.
Very nice. Rich, are you watching here on the YouTube live that I'm running here from the shack right now by chance? MD 9600, yeah, Dan knows all about those radios.
Negative. I was on YouTube watching that hurricane. I tell you, that was something else from that parking garage. Nothing like getting it live.
It is messy. I have a lot to get done yet. It's still a disaster in here. We're going to talk about the new feed right now, so hang in there if you're new. Well, Rich, I'm live on Facebook right now from my K0LWC YouTube channel. Right now, live, I've got people watching, and we're actually having a discussion, and you can chime in. I don't know if you've heard this. Have you heard about the news that came out from the FCC yesterday about the FCC wanting to start charging application fees to amateur radio operators? Have you heard that news that came out? Let's see if Rich knows about this news.
Yeah, I knew there was a reason I wanted to register early, and then I got back, well, only 90 days. So what kind of application fee do they want to charge?
Well, we've been chatting here on YouTube Live about this, so you can chime in with your comment right now here on the air. So what they want to do, as you know, right now you got to pay your VE testing, and that's it. Now they want to charge you, if you're a new ham, you got to pay your $15 testing fee to the VE team, of course. But then also they want to charge you a $50 fee to apply for your license the first time. They want to charge you a $50 fee every time you upgrade. They want to charge you a fee if you want a print copy of your license for $50. They want to charge you $50 for an application for a vanity call sign. And they want to charge you $50 every 10 years that you renew. So when you take a look over 10 years for a typical ham, and when I say typical ham, what I mean by that is a ham that gets their license to become a general and they get a vanity. Like that's a typical progression. So over 10 years, a ham right now would pay like, yeah, probably about, let's see, I would say probably about $65 when you factor in testing costs and study materials. And then if it goes to the new structure they want to do, the FCC structure, that would then raise up to about $230 or to $250 over their first 10 years. So that's the new fees they want to start imposing. So what do you think about that? I'm glad they don't charge the Patriot team. They did mine, I think, actually, too.
Well, that's kind of crazy. I don't think too much of it, but maybe they're trying to get their money's worth. Everybody buying Chinese radios, they figure, well, we're saving enough that we can afford to finance the FCC a little bit.
We're talking about that there's two things that come to mind. First off is that, yeah, maybe if you're buying a $20 Baofeng, you can afford to pay more in fees to the FCC. But my perception, this is purely my opinion, and it's pure speculation. And for the folks watching, we're on Brandmeister DMR 31629. That is this, kind of the FCC, for so long, we've always been seen as a public service. That was always a part of that, mission of ham radio. And so I think they let us get by with not doing a lot of fees that they impose on GMRS and the commercial transmitters and stuff like that. So as them starting to impose fees, and a fairly steep hike compared to what it is now to get into the hobby, is it them just seeing ham radio as just that, as a hobby now, and not as much as a public service with a hobby attached to it? Is it now like, you know what, the public service element's not so needed anymore, so now we want to kind of treat you more like a commercial entity, like a GMRS, because the public service element's really not that important. That's just purely my opinion. Your thoughts on that, Rich? See what Rich thinks to that. What do you guys think? Comment.
Well, I think this might have gotten started about a year ago when some gal out in L.A. or somewhere, some politician wanted to charge for the various link repeaters that are up and down the coast. I think maybe it got started right around there, and then the idea morphed into what it is now. So that's my only thought on that right now.
I do remember that story, and this thing has been going on for a while. This actually stemmed from a law in 2018 that got passed, and they're finally getting around to figuring out how they're going to implement the proposals of the law. The law got passed in 2018, and it was like a huge list of things that it did for the FCC. And this is just like a minor little buried thing, but it affects us in a large way, so it's not minor to us. But in the totality of the bill, basically they're saying we want to reassess how we charge people that use the spectrum, ham radio included, in addition to low power FM and commercial transmitters and so on and so forth. But Brady here on YouTube Live was just talking about the hurricane recently is a great example that Arkansas was booming with emergency traffic during the hurricane. And so that like public service element can't be lost, in the grand scheme of what we do as ham radio. But with that, I'm going to quick sign with you, Rich. I'm going to keep it on low here and go back to YouTube, or just open it up to anybody else that may be out there that wants to hop in here as well. Let's do that. Let's open it up. If you're on DMR Brandmeister, if you got your hotspot rocking or you got a repeater near you, again, talk group is 31629. If you want to hop in and say hello, come on in right now. This is K0LWC with, I think it was N6JF. Yep, Doug, Aries member here in Colorado, absolutely.
Hey, man, yeah, I'll be on the side, November Juliet 6 Fox, San Diego.
Anybody else got your radio on? Come in and say hello on 31629, the swine. Awfully quiet. What's your duty cycle on that handheld? Is it getting hot? No, it's not getting hot.
N7 VDR.
Uh-oh. N7 VDR, K0LWC. Oh, I already know where this is about to go. What do I think of Ham Radio Crash Course? I think Ham Radio Crash Course has got a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff. I watched some of their things. He's got some good videos.
I gotta mute the volume. This is too confusing for listening to the delay. But no, just wanted to jump in and say, hey, I'm trying out a new radio this evening. It's actually a cell phone with a DMR radio in it, the Atom XL by Unihertz. Been playing with that for a couple of days. Go ahead.
It is sounding good. I could not tell a difference between what you're doing now and when you're using your Anytones. So no, I think it sounds great.
And yeah, I just wanted to jump in there and say, hey, good live stream. I might be a little extreme. I'll probably pay the fee, but maybe I'll get my extra ticket after all before they raise it, and I'll probably be good for one more renewal in my lifetime, maybe two. We'll see. Anyway, good show. Talk to you later. N7 VDR.
N7 VDR, K0LWC. All right, well, from now on, you'll be known as Bootleg Jimmy. Thanks for hopping in there. K0LWC, 31629. So, again, guys, this is Kicking Back in the Shack on a Friday night. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I want to do more of these. So if you would like to see more of these, it may be just totally free-walling off whatever, just hanging out, or it could be structured on topics. Let me know. So if you want to see more of these, let me know. I would like to do more. And yeah, so it's something that, you know, we used to have these before. They're coming back. Whatever came with the expanded tech privileges, I think that's still in discussion. It has not passed. It has not happened. It's still in discussion. It's not an official thing yet, as far as I know. If anybody else knows different, please comment. But I'm pretty sure the expanded tech privileges are not officially stamped yet. I will say anytime we have a major change like that, you tend to see licenses take off. So if that happens, I think that's going to be a great thing, because you're going to see more people jump in, especially before the fee, if it ever goes into effect at that price point. I think you're going to see licenses jump up where people go, hey, I can use voice on HF, because right now, of course, techs only get 10 meter, which is only viable for a little bit of time, especially right now with where we're at in the cycle. I think if they can start using, you know, voice on other bands, it would be a great thing. Although I think there's a lot of hams that would not like that. The cranky hams, I think. If you're a cranky ham, you can leave a comment and tell me so. Add the privilege at the same time to roll the fee, possibly. More collection. You know, this is, I think, a good thing, though. I would love to have more technicians on HF. And this has come from a guy who was a technician for a long time, finally got around to go and taking my test. And I did it. And like, even if I got my like general the year before they made privileges for techs, I would still be fine with it. Like, it wouldn't bother me. Where is this new posted? Jay. So Jay, do you know what's going on? Do you know the news, Jay? Do you know what's up? Do you know what's going on? If you don't, drop a comment and I'll kind of give you a quick brief overview of it. But no, I think that this, the news, yeah. So the news is, for again, the folks that just joined, we're going to do a quick recap. Hang in there with me. You've been there for a while. The FCC wants to start taking application fees again from ham radio operators at a pretty high cost. What they want to do, they just came out with a proposal. It's not official yet, but the proposal from the FCC says when you're a new ham, it's going to cost you $50 to get your license the first time, application fee, right? When you apply for a vanity call sign, whenever that happens, that will be $50. If you want to then also upgrade, go from tech to general to extra, $50 to upgrade, because that's an application. If you want a print copy of your license, $50. And also, you know, renewing every 10 years, at the renewal period, at the end of 10 years, $50 for your renewal as well. So what this means is right now, somebody can get their technician license roughly for study materials and a testing fee for about $40 to $45 all in. if this new fee structure was in effect right now, that technician would probably be paying about $100 to get their license for the first time. So about a $60 increase in fee in terms of what's coming out of their pocket. So if you want a vanity, yeah, do it now when it's free and it doesn't take more than a couple of weeks. So yeah, about 100. Again, it depends on your study materials. If you don't need them, you don't need them. That kind of thing. Some people don't. So that would be the increase. And so over 10 years, your typical ham would pay, right now, your typical ham would be less than $100 over 10 years. In the new fee structure the FCC wants, it would be about $230 to $250 over 10 years. And the new fees do nothing to help the ham radio community at all. They just for offsetting costs for the FCC. They don't give anything in return. We just talked about it here on the stream. A lot of people said, if I give you these fees, and if the FCC was going to step up enforcement on the bans, they would be okay with it. And so would I. I'd be more okay with it if they're going to say, we're going to help you out as a community and start doing more enforcement activities. But they're not saying that. They're just saying, give us your money. We just want your cash. And we want to offset the costs of our people shuffling your papers across our desks and just pay for those costs. I do want to test something, guys. For those that don't know, when I do my videos, yeah, you can't get a vanity now. Why can't you get a vanity? That's weird. When I do my videos, I use this microphone. I want to see if I can click this in and have it start working right now. This probably will sound a lot better than what I sound like right now. You guys tell me. I just want to test this out. The 7200 crew. The 7200 crew. You know what? Who is the most prolific troll on the HF bands? In your opinion, a call sign. I got a call sign in my head right here. The most prolific troll of all time on ham radio. Who would you say it is? I want to know. I want to see if you say the call sign that's in my head. Let me know. Jay, if the fee is for paperwork, that's ridiculous. It needs to be used for education and more. It's not for more resources. It's purely for just paying for their labor costs. It's what they said right in the provision. It's just for offsetting their costs. They do nothing more for ham radio for the fee. Let me test this out. A million times better now that I'm using this microphone compared to the phone. I'm guessing the answer is yes. Okay, that's what I was hoping for. Dan says he's not a troll. Much less background. Sounds better. Perfect. That's what I wanted. Now, if I can just find a place to set this, heck, I'll use it as an actual microphone. I feel like I should be I feel like I need to be on like the Wheel of Fortune or on some kind of show. I feel like Drew Carey. That's why I feel like Drew Carey right now on Price is Right, holding this thing like this. But yeah, so the fee doesn't get us anywhere. The fee doesn't help ham radio at all. It's just for them to put more money in the pocket for their budget. And what's crazy to me is that the ARRL doesn't seem to be doing much about it. For the folks that have been hanging out here, we talked about this, but the ARRL seems to be like asleep at the wheel. If you were just new to the stream, I saw a ARRL director reply to my blog and it was chastising me for posting it and writing the article that I wrote. And if you haven't read it yet, you can go to k0lwc.com. The article's right on there with all the information. And the ARRL director said, calm down. Calm down. So that's not what I want to see from my ARRL. I'm not a member, but if I was, I'd be upset. It's not an official statement. And Brady, you're right on worrying about it going up all the time. In the provision, it says that they have to reassess the fee every single year. So every annual year, they get to go in and say, does this need to be higher for some reason? So it's not like they're committing to this will be the fee forever or for 5 years, for 10 years, or 3 years. It's every year they can adjust it as they see fit. So it's $50 now. Is it $75 later? Is it $100 later? Is it going to continue to go up? And yeah, the money, Stefan, really is, they say it's just for offsetting their own costs. So that could be maintaining the database of the ULS. It could be people shuffling papers across their desk and managing applications. They're saying that they think it's $50. And so saying that I can't criticize AWL because I'm not a member, well, sure, I am a ham, so I think I can criticize them. I'm not a member of them, but again, I would be a member if they were actually a little bit more impressive in terms of what they were doing for the ham community, because I just don't see them doing much. They're not really helping the ham community that I can see. And anything they've tried to do, they've lost and haven't followed up on. I mean, how many of you have followed the fight they were supposed to be having about HOAs and antennas? That's gone nowhere. Among many other things, spectrum is going away. They're taking more spectrum away from ham radio operators. So yeah, I'm not pleased to see ARRL directors out there saying calm down when everybody is clearly not happy that the FCC is going to want to increase fees back to what they used to be. Yeah, HOAs suck. There's no question about that. I lived under an HOA for a lot of years, and I got away with the stealth antenna. Thank goodness I got away with one. I don't have one now in my new place here in Minnesota. I literally made the wife make sure we didn't get one with an HOA. 30-foot tower. Oh, Todd, you're going to get rid of that. That would be terrible. ARRL keeps sending me things to get me to join. Yeah, same thing here. Never done it. Been a ham for 12 years. Still never been a member of the ARRL. And I don't get QST. I have CQ Magazine is what I read. Anybody else get CQ Magazine? By the way, if you ever call CQ Magazine, they have the nicest little old lady that like runs the subscription department. And I say department with like loose quotes around it. It's probably just her with like a Rolodex in her desk. Because everything is paper. It literally is like going back into 1915 or 20. It's amazing. But she's the nicest person ever. Yeah, I agree. I wish they would have, yeah, it's not an official statement, but it's just somebody from their ranks high up that's, waxing on about how, oh, everyone's going to go out of control, about how this is blown out of proportion. Yeah, it's not what I would have expected for somebody from the ARRL to say, right? I would be worried if I had an HOA. If you guys have HOAs, I feel bad for you. I'm so glad I'm away from mine. I used to get mail if I had like a bush that died, and they're going to start charging me for the bush that died. I was like, so should I really pay the fine for the bush that died in the front yard, or as a back at them tactic, do I put up a 75-foot tower with a big old tri-band beam up there and see what they say about that? I always wanted to try that. Yeah, HOA, the best, if you want to know if you have an HOA, put up an antenna outside. You'll find out quickly if you do. Most of them don't even want you to have satellite dishes outside. They make you hide those too. I just saw something pop up. Let me go back. I couldn't read it in time. Can I see it? There we go. Just saw the article. Can you either in the article or a separate video explain how to fill out? Yes, so if you're curious on how to submit comments for the filing, the comments are not open yet. They are not open yet. So they are going to put out another press release sometime in the coming weeks, in which they will then amend and make that document number, that docket number you see in there, active. That docket number is currently active, but it's for something else right now. But they're going to come out again and they're going to announce when comments are open. And then they actually can go and start commenting. So prepare to comment is basically the best thing you can do right now. Just the action you can take is just be ready. And when they go out and release and say, hey, we're going to take comments now, I'll make sure I let you know that they are now open. If your HOA is not bad, Todd, that's great, because I've yet to find an HOA where anyone's like, they're not that bad. I mean, there's commercials on TV now about how bad HOAs are, right? You've probably seen that once, an insurance commercial. I forget who does it. I am not going to say the call sign of the director that contacted me or said something. I'm not going to put out who it was. I don't want to flame that person and put their business out there. It was publicly in a Facebook group. Other hams saw it. And interestingly enough, the person deleted their comment. They took it down on their own accord. I wasn't talking directly with them. I didn't even engage with the person. But on their own accord, they decided they should delete that comment. Interesting. So prepare to comment. That's the best thing you can do. Is you as an individual can submit a comment to the FCC. They will review them and decide what they do. Because remember, this is not set in stone. This is not 100% yet. This is what you want to do. This is what we want to achieve. And then now, what do you think? And so the what do you think part is coming up for us. And that's why it's so important for us to get the message out. And that's why I'm so confused that people from the ARRL are like, be quiet, stop overreacting. I'm like, we have to get the message out to allow people to prepare to say what they say, whether you support it or you don't support it. Either one, you should be encouraged to comment. If you support this, go and comment. I encourage you to do it. I personally don't, but that doesn't mean that I say that only people that don't agree should go comment. If you agree with it, go comment. Because we should all make our voices heard. That's what makes this country great, as we all have a voice. Yes, it was a Geico commercial. Absolutely. Thank you, Dan and Todd, for that. It was a Geico commercial with that. Boy, what time is it? It's got to be late. We've been online live for like an hour and a half, Dan. It's crazy. All right, last call for 31629. If you guys are on Brandmeister, come over to 31629, say hello, and then I'm going to start wrapping things up. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day for me. Recently tried Packet with the ISS, didn't get in. It can be tough. I got in with my mobile antenna. You guys may have been live when you were seeing it. I was able to get in on Packet on the ISS a few weeks ago. That was super cool. Loved it. Yes, okay, 11 o'clock. Is it 11 or 10? If you think it's 10, because I'm not in Colorado. Don't let that fool you. That's my old plate. Central time here. If it's 11 o'clock, holy smokes. Hopefully you're in like Eastern time, Texas, and it's not. It's more like 10 o'clock. Yeah. 11. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Last call, 31629. K0LWC on the Swine Big Talk Network, 31629. Yes, I have used DMR over RF only. Absolutely. I've totally done that. We have DMR repeaters that I've used locally and also used DMR simplex frequencies at Hamfest. So absolutely. KB0TDW, K0LWC. Uh-oh, trouble is here on 31629. It's Dan. It's Dan on the Swine. Uh-oh.
It's like a bad penny I return.
Yes, younger people, that's key. And increasing cost of entry. Very good point. 100% agree with you. Could not agree more. Yeah, buddy. It's otherwise quiet, though. K0LWC. Absolutely. Getting more young people involved, raising the cost is not the answer. So again, if the FCC was interested in making sure that that the ham radio, community continues to be healthy and grow, if that was a concern for them, and I know it's foolish to think that and say that the FCC would really truly care about what happens to amateur radio, but even if there's a glimmer in their eye, they would realize that increasing the cost of entry is not the way to do that. That's just common sense. That's logic, right? So it's unfortunate that it's going that way. But again, quiet on the radio front. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. I'm going to bed. I have a long day tomorrow. We have some more upcoming videos, though. Before you go, make sure you check out k0lwc.com, on Instagram at k0lwc. Check that out. Can people using FRS use digital modes? I don't think so. I'm fairly certain the answer is no. You cannot use digital modes on FRS, but I don't know for sure. So again, K0LWC on Instagram. If you're not following there, go do that. At K0LWC on Twitter, go follow that. K0LWC. You see that there's a trend, there's a theme here. K0LWC.com. Do you think this is in response to the ARRL wanting to change the ban? I don't think so. I don't think it's a response to that. I think it's completely separate. This has been cooking for years. APRS message, awesome. Thanks for coming in, Mark. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out in the shack with me, guys. It's a complete mess, as you can see back here. I'm still in the process of building it. wait for more videos. I'm putting a pass-through panel. I'm punching through my wall in a couple weeks. Watch out for that. I'm putting up my antenna mast in a couple weeks. Watch out for that. That's about a 40-foot mast I'm putting up for my vertical. I'm running my coax into the shack here. I'm getting everything set up in here. Right now, I just have DMR basically in here. I don't have anything else. I don't have any way to get coax inside, so that's all coming up. So thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I'm hitting the sack. My young child's going to be waking me up crying in no time. So thank you. Appreciate it. I like and love every one of you guys. The fact that you come in here, like my videos, watch my videos, comment, have a discussion. I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so much for joining in, kicking back in the shack with me here in Minnesota. And until again, I'll catch you again next time. See you guys.